Did it just continue the recording? Because it still says 50 minutes on mine.
I stopped it and then started a new one.
That's all right. Looks like it might just make one whole recording. Okay.
Just know at the 50-minute mark, that's where incident starts.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Titus Muchler. I'm the incident management process owner, and I'm going to be going over incident in the new ServiceNow tool. Okay, you'll start your day as a technician by opening a brand new web browser session and going to myapps.microsoft.com. This is going to be the landing page pretty much for all of our software as a service based applications. You can see we've got Amazon Web Services in here, a couple instances of ServiceNow. We're going to launch this test environment. As it is web-based, you can have multiple windows open. Go ahead and have a second session open. We'll need that in a minute. Okay, this is the home page. This is a landing page. Most teams are probably going to use this main portal as their landing page. It shows all of your group's work. It shows all of the work that's assigned to you. Well, this filter actually shows and people that are in my assignment group, but we may need to work on that. Any of these filters you can add columns to. If you don't see what you're after here, what you're looking for, just add it. You can adjust where you want it to appear in the list. It will refresh and add it here. Now I've got the closed. You can sort simply by clicking on the column names. Reverse the sort by hitting it again. If you want to open an incident that's in your queue, this work is currently assigned to me. Let's say I want to give it to somebody else in my team. Keep the assignment group the same. Change who it's going to on my team. I'm going to assign this over to learner. I can hit save. Now that's assigned to learner. I could also hit update, and that will close my screen and put me back to where I was before I opened that incident. Again, you've got a couple different searches. This is the global search if you're looking for a specific case, incident, any ticket number whatsoever. You can do that search up here. If you know the exact number, if you don't know the exact number, you can put part of the number in. You can use the asterisk as your wildcard character. The search is very powerful. It will look across all tables and find any instances of 217. 89 results, we've got 2 incidents. Some other places it appears, phone numbers likely. Here was the incident I was looking for. And all things incidents of the navigation. Oops. Sometimes you don't want the S on. I've got incidents. I want to look at all incidents. Maybe I want to make that a favorite. Again, so this is all incidents in the system. Let's say I want to add a parent column to show me any tickets that have a parent incident. So this will show this incident is associated to this as the parent incident. If I open up this parent incident, I can go down to the bottom. I can see child incidents that are linked to this parent incident. Currently, it only has one. If I want to log a new child incident against this, I can do new. It'll keep the same information. Allow me to put a new caller Actually, it didn't keep the same information. Now we scroll down, we will see 2 incidents attached as child tickets. Another way of attaching a child ticket, if we know there are a bunch in the system already, can hit edit. Here's the 2 that are currently attached. Here are the available incidents in the system that could be attached. You can select a single one, it'll show you what it is. If you have the numbers, would be helpful. You can do a range by holding your shift key down. You can do a multi-select with your control key and add them all to the incident at the same time as child incidents. This particular incident, I think I resolved in yesterday's training. Let's put it back in progress. Now it is unresolved and back in progress. You can do that for an incident up to 7 days after it's been resolved. After 7 days, it is closed permanently by the system and you will have to open a new incident. And let's talk about where it's assigned to. Let's say this isn't the group that's going to be handling this. You want to send this to a different group. Put your window there. You want to search for the group name. Again, if you're not sure how to spell the name, you can do wildcard character. We generally only assign a ticket to a group. We aren't going to send it to an individual unless that individual has said, hey, please send this ticket over to me. We do that because we don't know if who's in particular groups, who's working any particular day. So we send it to the group and let the queue monitor of that group decide where it goes from there and who's going to work it. If you are the queue monitor and you've got this ticket open, again, putting it on one of your team's queue, simply is opening this up, deciding whose queue you want to put it into. Again, I was doing save up here. It keeps you on the same screen. If you hit update, it just keeps your change and takes you back to the screen you were before. Browser based, you can hit back in your arrow, go back to the screen that you were just on. Communicating with our customers, keeping notes in our tickets is very important. And again, we want to try to be as transparent as possible with our customers. Please use this field for the customer visible notes as much as possible. The work notes section designated with this yellow border here draws your eyes to it. That is only visible for WATEC technicians. The customers cannot see the notes that are added in that section. There are some little widgets around the tool, so if you don't see what you're looking for, you might have to try to find it. It hides, there's little hiding things throughout the tool. And to that end, if you're looking at a ticket and it doesn't quite look right, you're not seeing all the things you would expect to see on a ticket, all the fields, you might be in a different view. This is the self-service view of a ticket. Change yourself to the default view, you'll get all the fields of the ticket. A couple other things to do with a ticket if you need to attach something, your little paperclip icon is your attach. Choose your file, works just like any other attachment used to browsers. If you're needing to send this to somebody, you know the person, you're just not sure what group they're in. Let's say you know this needs to go to Bill Munir. Let's look up Bill Munir in the system. See, he's a people. Let's go to users. Bill. And this is the information about Bill. Here's the groups that he's in. He's in all these different groups. I can assign it, or let's say I want to send an email. This will send it to the customer. You could take the customer out and just send it to the group if you're trying to send something to a group within the tool, or you can send it to the customer. Whatever you're trying to use the email function for, that's how you can do it. could also type Bill's name, I believe. Just like that. First name, last name. That's how this tool works. Back to the all incidents. Maybe one that doesn't have a parent incident assigned. Say somebody else is reporting the same issue. I'm gonna hit copy incident. I can just pick a different caller. One thing to mention, I think we mentioned this earlier when Donna was presenting, if you do find yourself with a ticket that's not your queue or not supposed to be in your queue and you need to route that somewhere else, if you're not sure which way it's supposed to go, you can always send that to the support center. Either way, if you're rerouting a misrouted ticket, please follow the process to send the support center leadership an email to let us know that we have a misrouted ticket. Last thing to mention, sometimes we may find ourselves, we've created an incident when we really should have made a request. There's not a good way, easy way with the system to convert the two. You really need to pull the two screens up together and copy paste information across into a regular request ticket and close out the incident ticket with a reference. Okay. Do we have any questions? I see there's a couple questions in the chat.
Do I read them off, Titus?
Let's see, I'm pulling them up. Let me scroll up to where we start here. Okay, we got where do we assign tickets? We don't know. So again, that's the support center. Are customers able to edit the notes field? The customers are able to add notes to their ticket, yes, and those would be visible by the technician that's got the ticket or anybody else who's looking at the ticket for that matter.
But they won't be able to edit what you've put in there that they can see.
Right.
Okay.
They can add their own notes, but they can't edit existing notes in the fields.
Right.
Do
There's
these
one.
emails automatically CC us?
So when a ticket gets assigned to the group gets an email. Yes.
And you can see, oh, I don't know if we've got that in this particular ticket. Depending on when we turn that on. Now this ticket was too old for this to have emails in it, but newer tickets should. Yeah, let's look for one that's opened brand new. There we go, email sent. And here's where we went to.
And then there's another one in here. So we don't have to rely on emails for back and forth discussion with customers. That is correct.
We'd prefer you use the tool, not use email
And
as
not
the
use
primary
email.
means of your communications with the customers.
Okay. Does a ticket get closed just by changing the state?
Yeah, and maybe I didn't touch on this enough, but if I wanted to close this, I hit resolve and I hit update, or I can hit the resolve up here, but oh, it's not going to let me because there are some required fields. Let's say solved permanently. And now I can hit resolve. And if I go back, this ticket is now resolved.
And it'll move to a closed state after 7 days, right, Titus?
That is correct. Yep.
So when customers add a note or ask a question, will it email the technician? I do not think it will.
No, I don't think it does when a customer adds a note. So we've just got to be watching our tickets. One thing I think I forgot to mention was how to make say you've got a ticket and you need to have somebody else do some work to help you resolve your incident. You can do a task off of that ticket, an incident task. You do a new incident task. and assign it to the group that's going to do that work. Hit submit. And now they have a task associated to your incident. All right.
Hey, Titus, on this app, does it have keystroke function ability? So if you need to do like a save rather than clicking on it, you can do Control S, things like that.
I don't know the answer to that, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay,
good
just was
question.
wondering.
I don't know.
And if the system went down, does it auto save automatically when we're putting in tickets at service desk? Just a
I
couple
think until
questions.
you've hit save, it's not going to keep your
Okay.
record. Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
All right. With that, I'll hand it over to Mark on request fulfillment. Thank you.
There was a few more questions in chat,
Oh.
so let's try to cover them real quick.
My bad.
Is there an auto resolve capability if no ticket updates in X amount of days? I don't believe that is the case. Will resolving a task resolve only the task? Oops. Or will it close the whole case?
It will only do the task. So I'm going to do closed complete, update. Now this task is complete, but the incident is still open. Okay, and the last question is, are filtered to show tickets most recently updated for customer updates? That is a great question, because I think as a team we'll want to see updates from customers, especially if we're trying to cover tickets that are somebody else might have. And I don't know the answer to that.
Titus, why don't you clear your navigation filter and go to the home page?
Yeah, that's where I was going to send him.
And this is where most of the technicians will handle the tickets. Is that what you would say?
Hmm? And then you can add the field in. So last updated maybe, or so you'd be able to add that field
Customer
to that.
update or and I don't know if these are going to be updates. Well, updated by, yeah, there it tells you system. Maybe system might be the customer, or it might show the customer that it updated it.
You can sort by that column too, Titus,
Mm-hmm.
or the updated column.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Very configurable.
And then one more, did I miss the other work function? I don't know what the other work function is. Marilyn, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So like we get that a lot from our SAs, our systems analysts, where they'll be working on a ticket, but they need us to do something for them. So they will send us an other work, and then we do that, and then we close the other work, and then it sends it back to them.
That's a related task. Like you need somebody else in your group or in somebody else's group to do some work for you. You can make that related task off of your incident ticket.
Okay, did I miss that? I'm sorry if I did.
Yes.
Sorry.
And it's okay. These we're doing incident management only right now. Mark will be showing you request management here in a minute. So again, incidents are a little different than request.
Right.
Well, they can be, but what if
we are
they
running
need
out of we are running out of time. What, Marilyn? Why don't we go ahead and watch service management and then see if that answers your questions, because we are running short.
Okay.
Okay, so on to requests. A little bit of fair warning ahead of time is by this point in the presentation, you're going to see a lot of repeated information. And part of that is because the different aspects of the tool tend to have similar functionality. So for example, if you're comfortable with incidents, you're going to become pretty comfortable with requests really fast. So that's a good thing, but that does mean that I'm going to be repeating a lot of things that was said before. Okay, so before we get into showing off the tool, I do want to mention from a process level that requests do behave a little bit different in this system compared to how they worked in ESP or in our previous ticketing system before that. So the catalog system is the idea that you're ordering something. That's what Donna has already shown off. So when you choose your service and you basically order a request. Now, in most of the examples with ServiceNow, you'll see the word item put all over the place. For example, this example right here is talking about getting an iPhone, similar to like the Amazon cart concept. Now, in our world, most of the time a request item is really a requested aspect of a service. So for example, I need a password reset or I'm requesting a new report. Those become items in this world. So don't let the word item trip you up. So with that said, requests are broken up into 3 different areas. So you won't have a single request screen. Instead, there's multiple screens for a single request. You have the request itself, and that's basically the information that the requester puts into the ticket. From the perspective of someone working a ticket, this is not something you normally would edit or mess with. You have the item that's being requested, and even though a request can have multiple items and each item can have multiple tasks, unless there's a workflow having to do with requests, most requests are just going to have a single item and a single task assigned to it. So the request item area is sort of where you get the interaction back and forth between the customer and the person working the ticket. So information put in here shows up basically on the customer screen and as part of the activities for working the request. And then the task section is where you would enter information specifically tied to this request that is basically kept within WATEC. So I'll jump back to this image a few different times as I'm presenting. Okay, so service portal, this is the perspective of someone within WATEC requesting a service within WATEC. So I'll go ahead and just type in something in the search. I think that's the normal way people will go to navigate things. Keep in mind, we can include metadata within our searches. So whether it's this or any other sort of headache or heartache you get when ServiceNow is first rolled out, please let the ServiceNow team know about what's bothering you. And a lot of this stuff is configuration things we can fix. So we did do a relatively quick rollout. So a lot of polish is going to happen in the month after release. So for example, I just searched for PDP, but if you want to search for, say, performance development plan, that should be able to bring you here too, even if the wording doesn't include that specific text. So I'll go here. I'll go ahead and request for first name, last name. Usually I just start to type out whatever email address. Remember this syncs with Active Directory. And then we'll describe the requests, need a new report. And then you can add attachments. So let's add attachments, add a screenshot. Okay, so a preview of a little bit of a headache that's going to come up ahead is that when you add an attachment, it comes to a specific level. So right now I'm filling in the information for request item. So that attachment is going to show up on the item screen. It will not show up on the screen for requests, and it will not show up on the screen for tasks. So when you first are approaching a request, if you don't see an attachment or information you need, you may need to jump up or jump down a level. And we'll get to that in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and request this. You get a special instructions section. You can put some information. I'll put something here just because so we can show off where it is in the future on what screen. This is something that'll show up at the request level. But normally you wouldn't have to fill this out. Another thing to keep in mind is the service catalog is set up so that it forwards to the correct group. So for example, the second this is created, it will automatically get forwarded to ATS. So once you've created your thing, this is sort of your confirmation area. Shows you what your request number is and when it was submitted. Like Donna said, it will show up, for example, here, if you jump to your requests, you can find it showing up on your list along with any other requests you may have created. An important thing to keep in mind is this is the request level, which doesn't have a whole lot of information. If you want to see more information about your ticket, you really want to click into your item. So this is the item detail that you'll see for what you requested. Notice you have an activity here, basically a history of what was created and what was added. What you put here will show up in the request item details. So this is basically the way the customer can have a conversation with whoever's working the ticket. So whatever you add in here, forgot to add details, make request about employees. So anything you post here or attach here will show up in the ticket itself. And then if you're working a ticket, anything you add into the comments will show up here for someone to see if they check in on the details of their ticket. So that's the request part. Now we'll jump to working the ticket. Out of the self-service portal, you'd come here. By this point, hopefully this is starting to seem familiar. A lot of this stuff you can get to quickly from your dashboard, but I'll show one other spot you can get to. There's a neat little service desk area. And if you go here, there's a My Group's work area and a My Work area, which are helpful. Remember, anything here you can hit a favorite on. Also, remember, we are going to roll out some one-pagers with guides on this stuff, along with hints. And so all the stuff I'm talking about now will show up on that one-pager as sort of tips. So jumping in here, a couple things to be aware of is one is anytime you see one of these grids, get used to looking up here for where your filters are, because this is going to show you what is basically being displayed. In this case, we're showing all items. So that is basically tasks, items, incidents, changes, anything in the system that's been assigned to one of my groups. And it's automatically going to pull my groups that I belong to. It's looking to see if it's active as true, if it's assigned to empty. So in this case, this would be a useful grid to jump to, like during a stand-up meeting, to make sure everything's been assigned. And then a state of not equal pending. And you can edit these things, take away and remove or add filters. And then if you get a specific filter range that you like, you can actually save the filter and have it show up in your favorites. So I could hunt down the request item I just created. I've created enough that I'm just going to jump to it, since you can search for a request item if you actually have it saved. If you jump right to an item on a search and you have a direct match, it will open up the ticket. Otherwise, it will give you search results. Okay, so jumping in here, notice this is the high-level request item. So I'm going to jump through these series of screens. So you'll see a screen for request, you'll see the screen for the item, and we'll get to the screen for the task. So the request level, all of these, you'll end up scrolling down. You'll see down below is your area to dig one level deeper. Up above, notice this doesn't have the description. It did have the special instructions I entered, but the description is not at the request level, it's at the request item level. Also notice there's nothing up here to do with any attachments. And the last thing to notice is that there's hardly anything for me as the person working the ticket to edit here. Now, if I jump to the request item, there's going to be a lot more to work with here. One is, here's the attachment up at the top. Two is, here's the description that was entered for the request. And then down here is the activities, including the extra posts that got added here. So if I want to reply to this, I can basically add in a post right here, and the customer will be able to see it. So starting request. So that post basically gets added to the history, which both me as the person working the ticket and the customer can see. The system does do a good job of letting you know when a field is customer visible. So that's sort of your built-in hint of when you're writing that, be aware that your phrasing should be something that the customer will be happy to see. And then down here is one level deeper for a request task. . So this is the task itself. Keep in mind, once again, just repetition is that notice the attachment's not here. So even though this ticket has an attachment, I won't see it at the task level. If I add an attachment here at the task level, it'll be something I can see, but the customer cannot see because you're down into the task. Same thing down here. Usually when you're working here with your work notes, this would be basically when you're posting something internal for your team yourself to know. Details of query. So posting this here in the work notes is not going to show up for the customer to see. Okay, so assignment group, like we discussed before, is you can change this. You can either type in the group if you know it, otherwise you can look at it. The system conveniently will list all the groups, and you can break it down to see if the people in the group are what you expect. Like Titus was mentioning, send it to the support center if you don't know where it belongs. Otherwise, send it to the group that should be working the ticket if it's not you. So the next detail we want to talk about real quick is the update and save. So if you hit update and there's update buttons all over the place, what it does is it closes the window and jumps you to your previous window. So that is something to be careful with, especially on screens that look pretty similar. So the request task and request item, relatively similar look, and you can easily jump around. And if you're not paying attention, you can catch yourself entering data into the wrong information. You can right click anywhere there's a gray box. So gray lines is general the rule. If there's right click it, you will see shortcuts. In this case, it includes the save shortcut, which basically saves the data without jumping pages. So that just saved it and reloaded this page itself. If you right click just in a general white space, you get your normal browser information. And you'll see that even with like grids, like right here, if you right click here, you'll get like some filter off options or refresh list. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the assignment group I just changed to the support center. Now, if I jump back to the request item, so this will say assigned to, it does not change who the request item is assigned to. So let's jump a level higher to get a quick view of that. We're going to add that to show up on the screen, but it's not there yet. When you see the information, you can see a little preview of where you are and then jump to it. So the request item, and if we jump over, this guy is still assigned to ATS. Could be a little bit clearer if we jump to assign to a person. So watch, so another thing is you can right click here, and this has an assign to me. So I just assigned my item. So now if I jump into it, see it's now assigned to Mark Paul. Notice the task is assigned to no one and belongs to the support center. So that is important detail that when it comes to items and tasks, which you're assigning to people, request you're not assigning to someone. Request is basically still just the customer's information for what they submitted. But the item and the task for working, when you assign it to them, to a person, you have to basically do double data entry. So if a new request comes in, has one item, one task, and you want a single person to work on it, you'll want to jump to both the item and task and assign both of them. Ideally using the quick right-clicking method to do quick assignments to save yourself some headache.
5-minute time check.
Yep. So one other great thing that we'll jump to is the screen is back to the service desk. There's also my work. If you jump to my work, it will show any sort of task or item assigned to you, whether it's incident or request. Notice I get a task and an item. So these were the two ones I've been working on. They show up twice, but it is a great way to sort of see what's currently been assigned to you. So let's jump into that. So the last big thing to talk about is closing an assignment. So right now I'm at the task level. If you want to close a request, it will auto close for you once the lowest levels have all been completed. So if you have 2 tasks, once both tasks are completed, the item will automatically be closed. And if both items are closed, the request itself will get closed. So in the case of a one-way system where you have a single request with a single request item and request task, once you close the task, it will close the rest of them automatically for you. So what you would do with a task is you jump into the state and you'd say close complete, and you either hit update or save if you want to stay on the page. So remember, update jumps you out to the previous page you were on. So I'll hit update. It jumped me back to the grid instead of the request item. And notice the request item itself is now marked as close complete. And if we jump back up to the request, it's now close complete also. A quick mention, just because it was talked about earlier about a task, is if you're into down here, a catalog task, right now I've already closed this one, so it's not going to show the new button, but you can create as many tasks or as you want to support whatever incident it is. And then you can assign them to individual groups. So here's a request item that's still open. So if I jump down here, you can create a new task. And then you could assign it to whatever group you want to work it and give it a short description. Any questions?
There were a couple of questions in the chat, if we want to cover those. One of them was about, are we able to filter who can assign a ticket to our queue? For example, only approve ticket openers from, say, DSHS. So we don't have that capability today, but we could certainly look at doing some kind of configuration in the future. So that would be the answer to that one. Is there a field for related vendor ticket number? Let's say we have to open a case with them. We do have a vendor and vendor ticket number on our incidents. We do not have it on the request. Does the request get closed at a specific date, 7 days for an incident? So requests get closed, they don't get resolved like an incident. So when you close the request, you have completed the fulfillment of that request for the customer, therefore it is closed and completed. And then there was just a comment here about there's an integration with ServiceNow and CoreView, which could do workflows triggered from the service request. And my comment back is that's great information. If we want to look into that further, we can get that on the roadmap. Once all task items request is closed, does it send an email to the ticket holder? Yes, the person that opened that request would get an email that it has been closed. Any other questions?
Okay, then on to Bill with change management.
Okay, everybody can see my screen?
Yep, looks great.
All right. So to start off with, we're going to go to the process guide. And these documents will be available to y'all not next week, but the week we go live. So today I wanted to start with change types. There are 3 change types in ServiceNow versus the 5 we had in ESP. We don't have a latent or an informational change type in ServiceNow. And the next thing is the change management life cycle. So when you submit, or excuse me, when you start a new change, it is in a new status. And then the other states are assess, authorize, scheduled, implement, review, closed, and canceled. So what happens when you create a new change? It is a new state. Once you submit the change for approval, and let's talk about a normal change here. When you submit that for approval, it goes to the assess state. And the assess state is where the service owner approves the change, just like we do today, right? And then once the service owner approves it, it goes to the authorized state, which is where the CAB approves it on Wednesdays. And then when the CAB approves it, the request will go to a scheduled state. This is where it sits until the desired implementation date and time. All right. Now this is where ServiceNow differentiates from ESP. In ESP, the technician would just go make the change, or excuse me, in the current way, the technician would go and make the change. But the new way with ServiceNow, the expectation is that the technician that is implementing the change will go to ServiceNow and click the implement button, which starts the clock. And I'll show you that process in a little bit. All right. And then the technician would mark review and closed. Pretty simple. For the emergency change does not require CAB approval. So it when that is submitted for approval, it goes to the authorized state, which is where the service owner would approve the change. But with emergencies, sometimes they are done after the fact. You have an outage. It's more important to get the service restored, so you would enter the emergency change after the fact. Okay, and ServiceNow does allow the technician to predate their change just for that reason. Okay. Now a standard change, just as today, when you submit it, it does not require a approval by the service owner or the CAB, so it goes straight to the scheduled, and at which time the technician would implement that change when the desired implementation date is reached. All right. Any questions so far? All right. Let's see. So as you've seen previously, you'll see a lot of repeats here. But you go to the navigation and you enter change, and you come down here to create new under the change. And this is where we're going to create a new normal change. I'm going to go through the process for all of these change types. Okay. So a normal change, there's these tabs up here, the ones you've saved, the two models, normal and emergency, and then pre-approved is a different tab. And I'll explain this why it's separate in a little bit. Okay, so let's go to normal. All right, red asterisk means it's a required field. Okay. And you across the top here, you see the 7 states, right? This is green because we're in the new state right now. Okay. And then there's also tabs down across here where you see the typical things that we fill out, back out plan, etc. And then the schedule tab, you'll see there's an asterisk there, which has required fields as well. All right. So let's go ahead and start filling this out. you will notice when I click the service tab, previous selections do pop up, but you can hit the magnifying glass and find all the other services. Same for configuration items. This tab right here, or this field right here, says priority right now. We're going to change that in the future to complexity. Like the others have said, there will be improvements coming within the couple of months after go live. All right. But anyhow, priority, understanding what that is, right? So we'll go moderate. Risk, we'll say is low, the risk of the change, right? And impact, you can see the little hint there. Unavailable, degraded, available. So I'm going to select 3, low. And then we want a short description and a long description. All righty. Oh, and I almost forgot about this one. So this assignment group is the group that's going to be implementing the change. Okay. So we'll just pick a group. If you know the individual that is implementing this change, you can add them here. Okay. So we'll just pick Chad. All right. All right, so let's go to the scheduled tab and we'll pick a date, just like all of the other fields. You just pick a date click the calendar and pick a date. And we're going to go for 1400. Oops, what's going on there? And then for the planned end date, so we pick the 26th. We'll go with the 26th and we'll change that to 1500. Okay. All right. So all of the required fields are entered. So now you can submit this change for approval, but I would recommend that we save this change before you submit it. All right, you'll notice that there's a conflict status and it has not been run. So what ServiceNow does, something that ESP did not, is it'll check to make sure there are no other changes being applied at the same time. Okay, so you want to save this so that it runs a conflict status. Okay, so let's right click and save, just like the others have showed you. Right click on this gray bar and you can hit save. And then you'll notice this up here changed. Your submit is gone, and now it's a request for approval. You'll note that the conflict status has run, and it is no conflict, and it shows you when the last time it was ran. Okay. Now, if there was a conflict detected, you'll get a little bar up here that you can click on, and it'll allow you to resolve the conflict simply by picking a different time. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. All right. So now, again, we're still in the new state. So I want to request approval. And you can see it's in the assess state now. All right. Additionally, down here, you will see a notes tab. And here you see some, behind the scenes activity. Okay, so this shows an email that was sent to Chad because he was assigned the ticket. He was assigned the change. Okay, so he got an email. Okay, Also, if we scroll all the way down, now there's this new bar down here with more tabs for more information. And under approvers, you can see that the service owner is the approver. So you click on requested, and you can also see that the service owner was sent an email informing them of the change that they need to approve. And looks like the email here, you will be able to approve or reject directly through the email. ServiceNow is not sending emails right now, so that functionality hasn't been tested, but this is an out-of-the-box function of ServiceNow, so I believe I have confidence that it will work. All right. Okay, cool. You know, I'm in here right now, and I could go down here and approve it. I could approve this, but I don't want to do that. I want to show you it differently. All right. So let's go to approval, and you can go to my approvals. Oh, I did not capture the number. Doggone it. I bet you that was it though. Yeah, that's probably it. So you can see in here, this is my approval. So it's approval specific to me. And I can go in here and I can see the change, and I can approve it, reject it. I can, if I want to see the full change, I can click on preview this record and open this record, and it'll open the previous form that you saw. And you can examine the other fields. Okay. I want to also show you in the self-service portal. What was that number, real quick? 225. In the self-service portal, again, SP, you can come out here and you can also see your approvals, and 225 right there. I can approve and reject it right there. Of course, I want to learn more about the change, so I'm going to go back to my approvals and click on the request, examine all their plans, and I'm going to approve this request. All right, now if I go to 225, oh, nope, not here. Let's go back to change. There's 225. And you see it's in the authorized state. So now the cab, it's ready for cab approval. All right. So let's get out of here and let's go to changes and open. So there is a workbench. Where is it? A cab workbench that is out of the box from ServiceNow. We're not going to use that right away. The dev and test environments had some test data in there, so I want a clean environment, and then I will build out the cab, the workbench, excuse me. So for after we go live, what we're going to do is come into change and open, and the cab will run a filter to pick up all. Okay, thanks. To pick up all the changes that require approval, and you can sort this by created by. You can sort it by plan start date. So as you guys know, today we do the 1 to 10 days, 11 to 30. Well, here it's all on the same screen. So we'll be able to come through here and identify the most recent changes. Okay, so there's a lot of changes that need to be approved right now. All right, so the cab will click on the change. The technician will describe the change to everybody in attendance. And once ready to approve, the cab member will come down here and find themselves, click that box, and then approve it. Okay, pretty simple. All right, so let's go to back to change and open. And so now it's time to implement the change. So the technician will come to this area and they will come to their change and notice that it's in the scheduled state. Well, they're ready to implement the change. So before they start making the change, they'll come to this screen to ServiceNow and they will select implement. Now what that does is it updates this field, which is the actual start date. So now that they're in the implement state, the technician will make the change, reboot the server, whatever they're supposed to be doing. And once they're done implementing the change, they'll come back to ServiceNow. They will hit review, and you'll note that it modifies the actual end date. So while in the review state, the technician will validate that the change was implemented successfully. Okay. And now they're ready to close the change, but there are required fields. So you definitely want to say successful, and now you can close it. All right. Okay. Do I have time for one more?
We have till 3:30, Bill. I think we're doing okay.
Oh, okay, great.
We still need to do pre-approved, right?
Yeah, the
Okay.
pre-approved process.
Okay.
Oh, shoot, I forgot all about the pre-approved. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let's go to create new. Pre-approved. So you'll see that under this pre-approved tabs, there are predefined changes, and these changes are requested to be added to the pre-approved list. So the technician will propose a change be added to the pre-approved list. In order to do that, the first time that change is made, it has to go through the normal change process. It has to be a successfully changed process. We haven't fleshed out all the details of all the requirements to make it a pre-approved change, but we'll work on that in the coming weeks, months. Okay. So anyhow, let's go to change closed. And let's look at this change that we was low risk, low impact. It was successfully changed, successfully implemented. So this is a prime candidate. This is something we do, every month, patch servers, whatever. So right click up at the top here and propose a standard change template. Okay. So the technician will click on that, and there's some fields that need to be filled out. We haven't fleshed out all of the process on this one, so I'm not going to go through it. But once this is properly filled out, the technician would request approval, and then this proposed change would go to the cab for approval. And I envision the cab reviewing these, weekly at the cab meetings. Okay, but again, that process hasn't been fleshed out. One last thing I want to show you. the under this process guide, we do have a bunch of how-tos, and I'm working on building all of these out. I got about half of them done, and then we'll be able to send these out to you all after go live. All right. Aaron, you had a question?
Just want to
Yeah,
make sure.
I
that
do.
we answered it.
So I thought I heard you say that there was a point between assess and authorized. For example, if you're building it and you click save, I thought I heard you mention that there was a step to go ahead and then take to get it to push it forward for approval. So that's why I asked the question the way I did. Could you create a change, get it built, and then make sure you were dotting your I's and crossing your T's. Maybe you need to have some more information. Maybe
Yeah.
you're going to get the customer's going to give you more information at a later date that same day or something.
Yeah.
Could you do that work and then save it and not push it forward until you're ready?
Yeah, absolutely, Aaron. Great question. So you can change all of this. It's going to make me put in a date, but anyhow, yeah, you can hit save and come back to it, right? You don't have to submit it right away. So save, and then it'll be there where you can come back to it. Absolutely.
So the service owner won't see it until you push it up, right?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah, the service owner could go to all and see it here in the, it'll be a normal new, this is it right here, right?
Uh-huh.
Right, it's in the new state still. So we know it's not going to, we know not to look at it, right? But but during the cabs, we intend to, hello. During the cab meetings, what we are going to do is we're going to look at authorize and assess. So we're going to look at the assess state, even though it's not something the cab does, is approve at the assess state. What we want to be aware of is, a technician has submitted a change, the service owner is out, whatever, forgot to approve it, whatever, so that we can see that, this one is going to be happening tomorrow. We need to escalate this, right? We need to call the service owner. We need to do something to get this approved for the technician.
Perfect. Thanks, Bill.
You bet.
One more question in the chat that I see is, what are the close codes?
I don't know what that means.
So Marilyn, can you explain that?
Marilyn, you're on mute.
Yeah, you were doing one and you did the drop down, and those were the successful, and then there was a couple more. I just wanted to know what they were. When you were finishing one, you did the drop down and you said, and then it was successful, and then you went on, but you did it so fast I didn't see what the other close codes were.
Yeah, I can't tell you exactly what the third one was, but it's successful, successful with issues. It's the same things we have in ESP today, Marilyn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, one last silly question, right? And this probably was covered in the very beginning, so I apologize. But what is a case?
That's outside of my scope of responsibilities, so I'll let somebody else answer that one.
So with ServiceNow, they have a module called case management, which is where a customer service portal comes from. So anytime a customer is putting in a general inquiry, an issue or an incident, those are called cases. It's case management. It's kind of new to us, but that is what that is, where the other ones will all come in as requests. And so hopefully, yeah, we'll learn more as we move along. But
All right. If there's no other questions, I think we can wrap up the recording.
Are there any other questions about any of the training that we went over today? Okay, that was the few seconds of awkward silence. So I'm assuming everyone got questions answered. Oh, here we just had one come in. How do we pull a report of assigned? So of assigned task. So Bill, it's not really a report per se, they're dashboards. So it's a lot different than ESP. We don't pull data out. The dashboards and all of the data is right there in ServiceNow. Now you can export it and put it in an Excel spreadsheet. But if you go to the homepage, my assignments, it's going to show you everything that is assigned to you or everything that is assigned to your team or your assignment groups.
That answer your question, Bill?
Yeah, I did. I just like pulling a copy of the list of in ESP, the tickets that I have assigned to me so that I can keep track of them that way. So,
Well, I would hope that you would find, once you get into ServiceNow, you would find that it is so much easier to manage it here within the UI. You don't have to save those, export those, hopefully.
Because you have the filtering capability, you have the ability to add any field to this list here. There's so much more capability. You can sort by any field. I think you all like that you can actually manage it within the tool a little better than what we've been able to do with ESP.
You can
Yeah,
always screenshot it too, if you needed to.
Yeah, ServiceNow is so fast. It is just so much easier to handle it right here in the UI. I think you guys will really like this rather than doing anything manually like exporting, unless you're exporting for some other reason.
no, that's basically it. Just old school and like doing it that way, but it's a new system. Get to learn new things. Thank you.
Yeah,
You're
you
welcome.
bet. Yeah.
Okay, one last call for any questions that someone may have. Right. I think we have concluded our training. So thank you everyone for coming today. We're really all excited about getting this out to you and getting out all of the user guides. We'll also have a channel available for everyone starting on the 3rd when you come to work and you're actually working in ServiceNow. Project team will be supporting you and helping you through any issues that you're having, any questions that you may have. So you can just pop in and we'll definitely help you get through this. Okay. Great. Thank you so very much. Can the training team stay on for just a couple minutes?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.